Right, so in today's video I've decided to kind of explain exactly why I hate ryegrass, and it's not just that I hate ryegrass, it's that I completely and utterly despise it in every possible way. I hate it so much that I've actually decided to kill this entire ryegrass lawn off. And I just want to start by saying that what I've just said is a joke. I don't actually hate ryegrass. If you've read any of the comments on some of my videos, maybe over the past 12 months or so, you'd be led to believe that I am all for fescue and that I'm a massive hater of ryegrass. But it really isn't the case. If I hated ryegrass so much, why would I have this, a ryegrass lawn? If we just get right in over the top of the sward here, you can see the sward doesn't look too bad. It's nice and green, getting right over the top. And as I always say on this channel, the true test of a quality lawn is getting right in over the top. And the sward is nice and dense. So why is it then that some people believe that I hate ryegrass? It seems to be the most popular grass type at the moment. Most YouTube channels you go onto, or even like seed websites you go onto, they're pushing ryegrass. It's what is most commonly out there really at the moment. So there's got to be a reason, and that's because there's a lot of pros to having a ryegrass lawn. And the first of which is the colour. And you can see from the lawn I'm stood in front of now, it's a nice dark shade of green, and most people are seeing football pitches and wanting that really nice dark green, and ryegrass certainly gives you that. It's usually the type of seed that's used for football pitches. It's also really easy to establish from seed too. It'll often germinate quite quickly. You're talking about just in a matter of a few days, especially as we get further into the spring and into the early summer. You can get an established ryegrass lawn pretty quick, and that's why it's often advertised as being hard wearing. And if your space is in the sun for most of the day, then your ryegrass is going to look absolutely amazing for the most part, as long as you do the right kind of things to it. And from what you can see here now, like I've already showed you right over the top, we have pretty much 100% coverage of grass. There's the odd bit of ryegrass knocking about, but when the sun's out, it blends in. It all sort of looks like it's one consistent colour, and it's not too bad. So why do I prefer fescue over a lawn like this? And the first reason is because with rye, one seed becomes one plant. Some people have commented recently to say that ryegrass does thicken up on its own. It thickens up to an extent, so you put that one seed down, it becomes one plant, and that plant can tiller, so it can create multiple leaves from the same base of the plant. So that obviously is going to thicken the sward to some degree. However, when we talk about fescues and how they thicken up a sward, they do it using stolons and rhizomes, and what that basically means is either runners that go above or just below the surface of the soil, and those shoots produce new parent plants. So it's not just thickening up that one existing grass plant, it's creating multiple grass plants. This lawn I'm on now won't do that. The only way to thicken this lawn up is to put more seed down. And if the conditions are favourable like it is on this lawn, then it's not going to require a whole lot of seed every single year. There's some advantages this lawn has compared to the lawn in the back garden. First of all, it's in the sun for most of the day, and any plant, grass included, is going to thrive in that environment, whether it be bents, fescues or ryegrass. Also, you might be able to tell that it's on a bit of a slope, and that plays into its hands as well, because it means that even if we have a shed ton of rain, then most of that moisture is going to run off the soil. It's going to soak through down towards the bushes, and that just means that through winter, when all lawns go through a period of stress and struggle, there's going to be significantly less dieback on a lawn that's in full sun all year round and drains well all year round. So when you see some content creators on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and their ryegrass lawns have survived quite well through the winter, it's often because the conditions are favourable. If you've got really heavy clay soil and dig out most of it and replace it, with 6 inches or so of really free draining sandy soil, then ryegrass is more likely to survive. Whereas if it's in a heavy clay soil that doesn't drain well, it's going to struggle, particularly through the winter, where there are a lot of lawns out there, my back lawns included, which get literally no sun for 4 or 5 months of the year. Ryegrass is going to die back, and really any grass type is going to die back. Bents and fescues will be the same. However, you'll see that difference when you get to the spring, because if you've got rye and it's died back, there's no way on this planet it's going to thicken. The only way it's going to get thicker is if it thickens with moss and weeds. And something you'll notice with ryegrass as well is it gets much more vertical growth than it does lateral growth. That means that obviously when you feed the plants, it's going to encourage that growth, and when you cut the plants, it's going to encourage more growth, but most of that growth is going upwards as opposed to laterally. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing to some extent, but what it will mean is that when you do feed your lawn, you're going to have to cut it much more regularly, and when you do, you're going to be taking off a lot more of that plant. And if you just think about lawn care in its simplest terms, we come out, we feed the lawn, which encourages growth, and then because it grows so much, we've got to cut the lawn. And with rye, most of that growth ends up going in a compost heap or into the wheelie bin. We're wasting a lot of it. Now, some people might not really care about that, and to be honest, I'm not too fussed. To be fair, this ryegrass lawn, I just take the clippings, I dump them at the sides of the bush here, let them decompose, feeds the soil for those bushes, happy days, everyone's a winner. But what I've noticed over the past few years is that the small lawns that I've got, you know, when I'm cutting them on a regular basis, I'm filling my wheelie bin. One of these lawns like that are 3, 4, 5 times the size of mine. You must have 3 or 4 wheelie bins to fill it full of the ryegrass clippings. Whereas with bents and fescues, you are going to get much more lateral growth. That's what's going to help to thicken up that sward. So when you give it a cut, you're nicking off that part of the plant that's grown vertically, but most of your growth is sideways. It's the plant basically doing the job of overseeding without you putting any seed down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this lawn a cut, and I'm going to give the lawns in the back a cut as well, and I'll collect the clippings because all these lawns were cut on the same day. They were cut about 4 days ago, and we'll see how much actually comes off them. And just for reference, this lawn hasn't had a feed yet this year. I'm going to be giving it a feed in a few weeks once we scarify it and do a light overseed on it, whereas the lawns in the garden have both had one feed, quite a few cuts too. Now there we go, I've just brought the clippings to the front to show you how much has come off. It's not a whole lot, to be honest. It's not a massive amount. You can imagine that once this lawn is given a feed, it's going to have a massive amount of growth. Often what will happen is I've got to empty this once or twice when we get to the height of summer, and it has quite a lot of growth. But let's get the mower, let's cut the back lawn on the same setting we've been cutting at, because that's what we did with this one, and let's see the difference between what comes off. Also, just ignore all the scraggly edges around the outside as well. We'll get to it at some point. It's the Novice Gardener channel, it's not the Super Lawn Expert channel. And there we go. If we just compare it to what we've got in this grass collector over here, really this lawn probably didn't need a cut today, could have done with a few more days, but you can see there's a massive difference in the amount of clippings that have come off. They're really, really tiny pieces. It's just literally nicking the bits of vertical growth that we've got. But what it doesn't mean is that this lawn hasn't grown. It absolutely has. If I just bring you in now a little bit closer, you can see how dense the sward is becoming. We do have some patches knocking about. That's where we've removed some weed grasses. Even if you go somewhere else, you know, we've got those patches which are going to fill in on their own, but the density is absolutely there. And even on the parts that are sitting in the shade, you can see how that sward's really starting to develop. Where you can see these patches over here, if it was ryegrass, we would certainly have to seed them, and we are doing an experiment at the moment. This half of the patches have had a bit of seed on. Over this side we put no seed, and what we're doing is testing whether the lawn can recover on its own, which it absolutely should given the grass type. So let's do the same thing up at the top and see if it has the same difference. However, we are going to have to move Fred first, who seems to be having a nice jolly time on the lawn. At least you know the lawn's good quality if Fred's willing to have a little kip on there. Fred, come on, you have to move. Fred, we'll call him over to you. And again, in the grass collector, if you just bunch it all together, you can see the quantity of grass that we've got there. Can effectively just hold it in one hand because such a little amount is coming off. And again, if we bring it in closer to this sward, I mean, that test over the top to see if you've got a quality sward. If no matter where you go on this lawn, there is 100% coverage, other than the spaces where we've pulled weed grasses, like I've said. And that far side is struggling, but you can see this is the bit that's in the shade for most of the day. Once it is in the sun, it should be able to multiply using stolons and rhizomes to thicken itself back up. And I know someone's going to comment on this to say that the lawn at the front does look better than what these do at the moment. I mean, arguably that one looks the best in my opinion. Out of the three, I think the one at the front looks decent, but this one, yeah, there's the odd patch, but where there isn't weed grass like we've already shown, that density is starting to get there. And you can imagine that if these lawns were sitting in full sun all day, just how boss they'd actually look. And that's exactly what we're doing out at the front. I said towards the start of this video that we'd killed this lawn off, which we have. You can see it started to turn yellow now. It's I think a week on. I think it was 1 week ago, Monday last week, yeah, that we actually killed this space off using Roundup. And it's a new project this year. What we're going to be doing is changing it from ryegrass into bent fescue to see how much better will it look as a bent fescue lawn as opposed to a ryegrass lawn, because people say on this channel all the time that these lawns look the best. I mean, minus the wrapper and the weeds and the grasses in the border, but this looks amazing. But again, it's in full sun all day. This used to look amazing, but again, full sun all day. Let's see. If it looks terrible as bent and fescue, we can always go back, we can always change it. However, I've got a feeling that it's going to look pretty decent once it comes through. We get some nice stripes on there, we cut it nice and short. I hope this video dispels the myth that I absolutely hate or despise ryegrass or have some sort of agenda against it. I've not. I've just seen a massive difference in those lawns in the back over the past 12 months. Looked at how thick they can become, how dense they can become on their own, with, you know, very few products going down, with very little work being done to them. And I just think if I put one of them in a really favourable space, then we're going to end up with a really, really perfect lawn. So if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to this channel, because we're going to be documenting the progress of this lawn, and there's going to be loads of other lawn tip videos coming out over the next 12 months too. Like the video if you've enjoyed it or found it useful. And yeah, as ever, the Instagram is in the description below. I've got a TikTok now too. There was someone who'd posted my videos recently and they've done quite well. So what I've done is I've started posting on Novice Gardener Official. The other one is like a gremlin fella or whoever who's posting stuff, so don't follow that one, follow the real one. And yeah, finally, thanks for watching.